Hi, Brooke.
Hello, Ms. Galvin. How are you doing this evening?
Ooh, we like a Ms. Galvin. We like that on this channel.
We
So
like that on this channel.
I'm leaning into my 30s. I'm a swamp witch now. So I didn't have time for
I
makeup tonight.
love this.
Thank you. I didn't have time for makeup, and let me tell you why. Because I live in the swamp, so I'm
So
busy
let me
doing.
tell you what.
I'm busy doing divination. I have like a thatched hut now. Like I get paid in lizard eggs to do tarot card readings
Thatch
for
is
people.
the new macrame, is what I hear.
Yeah, thatch is the new indoor plumbing. So,
Yeah, very
yeah.
sensual,
Mhm.
very symmetrical, and rustic.
So Zoom is really helping me out tonight because if you know Zoom, they have that like touch up my appearance slide bar. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no.
It's a great thing to do to yourself. Go into your Zoom settings like right the fuck now and look for the
Wait a
touch
minute.
up
Okay, I'm going to, in view.
in settings and video.
Oh my God, I love that this is now becoming, okay, in what?
How
Where
did
do
you
I
get
go
to
in?
2022 without knowing about this setting?
I'm furious.
This
Okay, I'm
is
in Zoom.
essential. Okay.
Wait, is it? Oh, it's in my general settings.
Yeah, but
Okay.
then you have to click on video, and then there's like a sliding bar for touch up my appearance. And I surely did move it a little bit farther tonight because I was like, I
Oh,
can't.
so
handle
it's
this.
not in the video chat. It's in the
No, it's in-
actual
yeah,
Zoom
it's-
account.
Yeah, you have to go to your Zoom app and open up the
Oh.
settings. Yeah, and then go ahead and like treat yourself, girl. Like fuck around. It's like dropping in a bath bomb. You just slide that bar up, and you're like, I don't even need foundation. I
I
don't
feel
need
like,
it.
how did I not know about this?
I don't know. Get in the chat if you're using touch up my appearance
Get
on
in
Zoom.
the chat.
Because it is a lifesaver. And I don't listen, this Mars rover picture right here, no one needs to see it. No one needs to see it.
Mars rover is what I used to call my IUD when I had it. My little Mars rover.
Oh my god.
It
And
just kept going in and just cling.
also, great non-binary drag king name.
Mars rover?
Mars
Oh
rover.
my God.
Amazing. Iconic.
What was another one? Like the Discovery? I don't know. There was other things. Like you just name
Discovery
space.
Channel.
Discovery Channel would also be good. Discovery Chanel.
Discovery Chanel.
Okay, girls. So business. We have to get down to business because we have a lot to cover today. And first, we have to cover why I am furious with you. Furious. I am mad. My eyes have been bugging out of my head. I'm so upset. I almost gave her the silent treatment, but I like myself too much, and I couldn't stop talking.
Am I gasping with
that's
surprise or am I showing off my costume jewelry? You don't know.
We'll never know.
I made a massive oversight, Brooke, and for this I am truly sorry. I neglected to tell Brooke for almost 12 months that
What?
almost
I'm
12
so close. I know I'm not afraid.
I know, almost 12 months.
12 months.
Well, that's when we filmed the original interview. So I'm in a short film about my burlesque career and my life for the last 10 years. It was done by the chair of the film and video department at CCAD, Nella Satino, and it is being screened at CCAD 2 days from now on Thursday, on February 3rd.
When I am in town.
When Brooke is in town.
When
yes.
I am in town, dear readers.
I didn't add all this up. I had so much time to add all this up and I didn't. So I'm so sorry.
And okay, it's not just a film. Okay, the film has been accepted to film festivals. The film has been runner-up, which Eileen says isn't an award. But if you understand how film festivals work, anytime they give a recognition, it's an award because there's only one first place.
Right.
So it is an award. So reframe your thinking. It is an award. You are the star and subject of an award-winning film that is just about you. One might have called it Just Being Eileen. And if you had looped me in sooner, that would have been the name.
Missed opportunity. I'm gonna fire the entire marketing department and can rename this film to Just Being Eileen. Oh my god. That is such a missed opportunity. I'm sorry.
It's a
for
missed
that,
opportunity,
too.
and frankly, it's a tragedy. Unlike, also would like to point out for the premiere, I have not given Eileen an option about me attending, either virtually or in person. I didn't say I didn't say can I? I said
No.
how do I go or see it?
No, and it surely is sold out. So you will be coming. And we're gonna figure that
Scalping.
out.
I'm
We're gonna figure that
scalping
out
tickets.
off the air. So
In a wintry mix. in Columbus, Ohio.
That's a polite way to put it. In a
Another
level
good
3 snow
non-binary drag
emergency.
name. What
Wintry
about that
mix.
for a... Yeah.
I love that. It's incredible.
And it's very Midwest, you know, like we love.
It's wintry and then the prefix MX period. Excuse me.
Are we recording? What's happening?
Are we recording this? Queen's Wave and Queen's Wave. Yeah.
Do not cut this in post. Okay. I'm very
Director's
sorry
cut.
that
Every edition of Covered Dish is the director's cut. Because
we're the whole crew.
Because there's no editing. All right, so let's get to the business of the evening, which is Brooke's still not over it. I'm so sorry. She's still not over it.
I'm drinking whiskey like an old man.
I'm drinking Coke Zero like a gamer bro. So, I just want you all to know that.
I wasn't going to have a whiskey until Eileen told me the news. This is the Nika coffee grain whiskey. The Japanese Nika coffee grain whiskey.
You like coffee and whiskey?
No, but they drain the whiskey through coffee grains
and
like soak it, so it has a little umami earth flavor, but it doesn't taste like coffee.
Okay, I'm down for that. That sounds almost like scotch. You know how the peat leaves.
Yes, it's a different tone because of the coffee, but it's very similar in that it's a bourbon or it's a Japanese whiskey I can drink without any mixer or anything. So like typically with an American bourbon I would add bitters, but with this I don't have to because of the bitterness of the coffee grounds.
Yeah, flavor's already added.
It's like the squirt of whiskeys. Please quote me. So
you may quote me on that.
and please do.
I like a simple cocktail.
All right, what is the topic of the night?
Okay, let's move on from that. Let's we could talk about whiskey all night, but we have to get on to the affair of the evening, which is feelings that we have. Feelings that end full stop. Feelings that we have around our partner and the experiences that they have with other people than ourselves. So if your partner has emotional, romantic, physical experiences with other people, there's jealousy and then there's compersion, which is my new favorite vocabulary word. So before we get into that dichotomy, Brooke, could you just briefly define for our viewers what is compersion?
Girl, did I teach you that word?
You did. You surely did.
Oh my God. Eileen is like
you are in the bibliography. You are.
Eileen like has a master's in words, so this feels I feel very accomplished. So compersion, if you think about it, is almost on the spectrum the opposite of jealousy. So it's getting pleasure or joy or warmth from seeing your partner engage, interact with someone else romantically or sexually or physically, whatever it is, whatever there's such a range there, but typically that would cause jealousy. The opposite of that is compersion.
Right.
So it came up through like the kink community as a fetish. And I'm not saying it can't be a fetish, but I also think that's cutting it really short.
Right.
Like that almost, not that it's bad to have a fetish, but I feel like with fetish, there's something inherently perverse or transgressive. And this is just the opposite of jealousy. We talk about jealousy all the time. It's like every other episode of sitcoms. And you know what I mean? It's very common, and we see it in all sorts of relationships with jealousy. And just like that in compersion, we see it everywhere. So like when you hang out with another friend and have a wonderful time and I'm joyful about it, that could be part of my compersion spectrum, right? That could be part of it.
Yeah.
But romantically, it's a little more challenging, right? Like we love when our friends make other connections, but sometimes it hits the jealousy point, right? The other side of that is compersion. The romantic side is the same way. You aren't living in one space permanently. It kind of drifts.
Yeah, I think this is like a thread of a sweater. So if you pull on the jealousy thread, it unveils all of these other experiences and relationships. Like if your partner has an accomplishment, you could be happy for them or you could be jealous of the accomplishment. And I think all of these things are linked to our security in ourselves, but also our security in the relationship. Because we do, when we make ourselves vulnerable for a relationship, we come to rely on it, right? We're afraid of losing it, or we're afraid of losing that other person. And for me, when I move into the space of jealousy, I think it's because I'm not confident in the fact that this relationship is going to endure. Like, no matter what happens, this person still loves me. You know, it's the confidence of that.
Oh,
that
girl,
moves
jealousy
me.
has nothing to do with the other person. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my boundaries. I don't, you know, I think back to the boundaries I set in early relationships in my 20s. I'm like, that was a weird boundary that has nothing to do with our relationship. And I'm like, oh, it was me. You know what I mean? And I just wish, Eileen, there was some simple visual representation of what compersion is. I don't know, with like some basic primary colors and some easy text.
Yeah, like maybe a coordinate plane with 2 axes that we looked up on Google before the episode.
Maybe.
I mean,
something like that.
Yeah, something like
Just
that.
general like that.
Oh my gosh, and there it is. So we did in fact do a very extensive research project on jealousy and compersion. And
pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my methods with you, which is I Googled the words.
I did the Google.
Jealousy
and I didn't click
compersion.
on the first thing because it was an ad, and
Yeah.
I didn't click on the second thing.
Clicked on the third thing. The third thing was what you're seeing before you. So
was Jesus walking with you or carrying your footsteps or whatever the hell it is.
So you can see here a diagram of Jesus H. Christ.
Yes.
So there's
Herbert
two. There's
is
two.
the
Herbert. Jesus Herbert Christ.
Herbert. Like Sherbert.
Yeah. Herschel Walker Christ.
Ooh, I like that. Very German.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's a weird aside. So there's 2 axes on this diagram.
Which was the other name of the show we were going to go with. That's a weird aside.
Oh, I thought, yeah.
For our show.
Yeah. Well, it's like a now for something completely different. It's very Monty Python of us. So you've got 2 axes on this diagram. You have when experiences happen to your partner, there are like good experiences and there are bad experiences, and then there's how you feel about those experiences. So if your partner is experiencing something good and you feel happy about it, that's compersion. If they are experiencing something unfortunate or unhappy and you're happy about it, that's Schadenfreude, right? We're like, haha, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that you fell and tripped on your face and whatever. If you are unhappy about someone else's happiness, then that's jealousy, right? You're like, well, that it might be like, well, I wish that was happening to me, or that's what we're here to unpack. Like, where does that feeling come from? This is a very therapeutic episode of The Dish. And then if you are unhappy about your partner's experience of unhappiness or misfortune, this diagram describes that as empathy, but I would think of that as like commiserating. You know, you're supporting that person in the hardship that they're going through.
Right.
Yeah. So the question I have is, obviously you want to stay in the empathy compersion diagonal, and you kind of want to stay out of the Schadenfreude jealousy diagonal. But that's easy to talk about in the abstract, so how do you actually move that from a place of theory to practice?
You know, for me, for me, I've been gloriously terrible at it. Like the joy of this is you're always failing, because it's all about self-work, right? So when I feel myself slipping, so let's say like I have a partner and they go out for drinks with someone and they're making a new friend, right? I know me, right? And where I'm going to go from compersion to jealousy is not where you would go in your relationship with your partner, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say they're telling me about them and they hit on something in sharing that's like, wow, that, I feel like I really provide that for you. So that hits a nerve, because I'm like, shit, if they provide that for you, I felt like that was one of our differentiators in our relationship, right? But if I look at that, that's me. That's my issue. That's not theirs. They didn't say, oh, they're providing this for me now and it's over, right? That's not it. But it's really about the self-awareness. And I'll say to partners, I'll say like, hey, I'm hitting my limit on the joy of this moment. Now, you have to be really thoughtful, because I think that's the self-awareness. You got to say that with enough time for them to kind of wrap it up, because they might be excited. So like, it's not, you can't just be like, all right, I'm done. You know what I mean? But it's like, hey, I'm getting good. I'm good. Like I'm full of this, but I know I see what's coming down the road and I want to kind of pause. Not stop forever, right? But I'm going to pause on this for the night, for the afternoon, for lunch, because I am aware. Now, if they keep going, and I've had this happen, I'm like, hey, remember when I hit my wall? And they're like, oh, yes, yes, yes. And then that's fine, right? But you can't just let them keep going and be like, rah, rah, because everyone's in their own shit and nobody knows your limit. So you cannot expect any partner to know when you're going to slip back into jealousy. And it's up to you and your self-awareness with what you sign up for in the joyous boundaries of your partnership, if you consider them boundaries or whatever they are for you. The bumpers on that bowling alley, big bowling alley metaphors all day for me. Like, you can't expect your partner to know that. And I think that was the thing we talked about in this is like, well, my partner knows me. They should know. And it's like, no, that's Mm-mm.
Yeah, Angie and I talked about that last week with our discussion of, what did we talk about last week?
Guess it's coming to dinner.
Right, when partners meet boyfriends or, other significant others.
Joy friends.
Oh, I love that. Write that down.
You never
Write that down, everyone. Put that.
Joy friends.
That's going to be on the quiz. I love that. That's incredible.
Oh my goodness.
We are here for gender non-specific terms that replace like only gendered options. So, joy friends. When joy friends meet partners.
Yeah.
That's a book. That is a whole instruction manual. But
dense pamphlet.
Yeah, but you have to be self-aware enough to express your feelings and do it in a way that is appropriate and trusting of the other person. Because if you immediately fly off the handle, the message you're sending is, I don't trust you. And that's going to make it harder for both of you to process. And the question is, do you really trust the person? Because I have to unpack for myself, if I'm having a jealousy response, where is this feeling coming from? It's coming from a place of fear, right? I'm afraid that...
and if they're not trustworthy, that's a different thing.
Sure, and that could be part of the equation. So that's, you gotta work through that. And maybe you can do that with just the two of you, or maybe you have to do that in the presence of therapy or whatever. But assuming that you do have a fairly healthy relationship that's based on trust. If I'm having a jealousy response, I'm going to, okay, where is that coming from? It's partly, I'm afraid that I'm not enough for you, or that I'm not doing the things that you need. I'm afraid that you're going to leave me and I'm going to be alone, right? Like it's some of that catastrophizing, that like spiraling that happens in your head. And I just take a step back and be like, okay, those things are not going to happen in this moment, right? If we're going to break up, it's not going to be because of this. It's going to be because of something more significant. This ain't it. Right? It's going to be something else. But the thing that helps me the most is to say, hey, I was a little jealous about that. And I just want to talk through where that feeling might be coming from. Because is it that I didn't have enough, I was blindsided, like I didn't expect it, and it was just sort of surprised me?
Yeah.
Is it because I felt like there was you weren't entirely transparent or truthful with me? That's another possible issue. But like we said last week with Angie, we're not mind readers. And sometimes we have this expectation that people are going to know what's going on in our head.
Right.
But they can't do that.
And then like, you can't know if your best friend hides the fact that she was the star in an award-winning film.
Oh,
you know
my
what
God.
I mean?
Oh my God. And we're back.
Woo! Just kidding. Feeling really good about it. Anyways.
No, keep them coming. You know what?
I
could take it. I deserve that. It's fine.
No!
12 months. 12 months.
12 months? That's a baby and a few months? Anyways.
That's a 3-month-old baby right there.
Thank you. That's a baby plus months.
That's a baby plus months.
I am good at math and babies. No, you know what I think it is too? I think that's actually a really good point of like, I'm good at being like, hey, look, I'm at my limit or whatever, but where I'm not good is that side. So the side of being like, hey, I'm a little jealous and I don't know why. Like, I think that's just not language I was raised with. I mean, it certainly wasn't language I was raised with. So it's just like, okay, how do I say these things instead of being like, you know what I mean? And sometimes it is the most random. I just step on a landmine in myself. And I'm just like, it is random shit that is like, oh no, I'm jealous. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. You know, I was talking with one of my good friends about like intellect and how sometimes like intellect for us is one of the things we prize the most about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it is also the thing that threatens us the most about others.
Yeah.
Right? And like, so oftentimes the thing that kind of makes you like, is the thing that you need to self-reflect and be like, hey, like that's not your whole identity. You know, I'm not just smart, Eileen. I'm also gorgeous.
You're also gorgeous, and sometimes people don't recognize that, and it shows.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, but that's a failing. That's a failing on their part, frankly.
Pretty much everyone's failing tonight, but me. I'm doing great.
Everyone's
and I'm
guilty.
very humble.
Everyone's
guilty.
Yeah.
Take them away. Big Queen of Hearts energy from Brooke tonight.
Yeah, I saw the faces of those responsible. It was everyone.
It was a mirror. So yeah, I think that's it's the self-reflection and the acknowledgement that like the jealousy. You can also share in advance with people in your life how jealousy comes out. My ex, love her. We wish her all the best.
We wish her the best. Love your hair. Hope you win.
I love your hair. Hope you win. I'll tell you when we get off the show which one.
Yes.
Said, you know, sometimes these things come out sideways. And I think for people with jealousy, where jealousy comes out is it doesn't come out in this like, Eileen's so fucking logical and brilliant and emotionally intelligent. Okay, so let's just get through that.
Stop.
You are.
On.
So you'd be like, hey, I'm feeling some jealousy. That doesn't come out that way.
I'm like Deanna Troi on the bridge of the Star Trek Enterprise, and I'm like, I'm sensing jealousy, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Right, and I'm like throwing a vase, and I'm like, her boob's bigger than mine? Like, that is, like...
Brooke, you don't own any vases, you own vases.
Oh my God. My Zoom just popped up when I said that.
Yeah.
Are you playing music?
Oh my God.
As a prompt. And I'm like, me singing.
And you're like, Alexa, shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like, you know, the compersion can often come out pretty normal. And then the jealousy is like, meh, you know what I mean?
It's like when the volcano's sealed at the top and it shoots out the side.
Exactly.
That's how your emotions like shoot outward at other people, and it's like.
So it's like, hey, no, I'm like totally fine that you hung out with her, and oh my God, I burn all your shoes.
Right, and no one's gonna like dump that body in the river except you, so you're gonna end up having to clean it up later.
Right.
To put it in a work context, I was just talking with somebody about how, you know, when you don't have time to respond, so someone asks you a question, you know it's gonna take some time, and you need to look into it. And you haven't had time to look into it for a long time. And so you don't send an email response because you're just like, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to respond until I actually have something to offer.
Meaningful, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while you're doing that, they're going to assume the worst. And they're going to think they don't care. They're ignoring me, right? Like, so you have to respond quickly in the moment, even though it's hard, and say, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to look into it. And then you have to be honest about the expectation of time. Like, I've got these other things going on. I might not be able to look into it until next week. But I'm just letting you know that I read your email. And, like, I acknowledge your question, right? That's important, even though we don't always recognize it as important. And that's why, for me, and I've had to train myself to do this. This is not, like, natural reflex kind of stuff. If I'm feeling some kind of emotion, I have to speak it into reality soon, or if not immediately, because I have to say, I'm feeling hurt or I'm feeling jealous. I don't know where it's coming from yet. That's the hard part, is acknowledging I don't even know what it is, but it's happening. And I just, you know, we don't have to deal with it right now, but I need to put it out there so that I can start feeling it and understanding where it might be coming from.
Right. And I think that's like the touch base, right? Of like, hey, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And also giving your partner or whoever it is the space. Like if it's like, hey, I need to think on this or I need to process this, not be like, well, I'm not the kind of person who can wait around. Like that's fine. That's your shit to manage as well. Because I am a slow processor, and people who are external processors like me are oftentimes not always slow. So that usually doesn't match up. Usually external folks are quicker processors, and you know me, so you know that's not true. And what it looks like to some people, especially if they're faster processors, is it looks like I'm holding a grudge. But I have to do a 24-hour check. I have to. And I tell this to every partner I have. I'm like, look, I need to do a 24-hour. Like, what looks like me holding a grudge is me sitting on this and processing it and going, is this me or what is this an actual thing I need to bring up?
Yeah.
And being really aware of the time it takes you and sharing it vocally when it's little things helps then when you hit things like this.
Yeah. I think Monty's exactly the same way. Like he'll tell me I'm having some feelings. I'm not exactly sure what they are yet, but I'm gonna sit with it. I'm gonna think about it, and then maybe we can talk about it later. And that's
and then what do you do? Like, doesn't that drive you crazy though?
No,
like
no, because I'm used to it now. It drove me crazy in the beginning because I was like, well, what is it? I want to understand it. Like, I want to put it in a little terrarium and I want to look at it from all angles and I want to do it now, right?
It's and like, I want to fix it.
Yeah, it's like you've told me that there is a present under the tree, but I can't open it, right? It's like it builds the anticipation, and then that's like,
for sure.
My natural response is to get impatient. Like, well, figure it out, damn it! Like, I can't help you figure out your shit if you don't tell me what it is. But I realize that we just work differently, so.
No, I get that because I'm like, I expect a quicker timeline with those around me than I hold myself to. Right? Like, it's just, I'm just like, well, what do you mean? You know what I mean? It's like, well, Brooke, you need more time.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that I don't think people say aloud again, because they're like, it's this whole myth. I was talking with someone and we were talking about the myth of the one and whatever. And I'm just like, there's no such thing.
Right.
Like, let that go. Like, because the problem with things like that is that they then make it into this like, well, you should know me bullshit. And it's like, we are extremely complicated houseplants. No one is expected to know you. No one is expected to understand how you're growing, how you're dying, what's fading, what needs nourished, what doesn't, what's overwatered. So like over communication doesn't negate your love. You should have to still say all of these things, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think these are underwatered.
Yo!
Yeah, so I'm thinking in all of this, how do you take it back to the practical? Like, what would it take in order for you to be happy? Your partner says, and let's assume that you've got this perfectly cultivated landscape of, you know, you can be with someone else and I can be with someone else, and that does not threaten the relationship we have as each other's primaries. What is it? What would it take to get to a place of being like, I'm happy that you went out and did that, you know? Because I think we all assume, like you said, in pop culture and in media, we assume that the only natural response is jealousy. But I would challenge that, because if you feel like at the end of the day, this is like, we're here for each other. We have trust. We have communication. If something happened, they would tell me, and they say, I met someone. We thought that maybe it was going to go this way. We made out. We had sex. It was great. And then I would be like, well done you. I'm glad you had a good time. You know? How do you get there?
Right. You know, I think obviously the chart is very complicated and no one can remember it. It's not still up, is it? I don't know.
It is now. Bringing it back.
But I think, you know, that chart is all about that is about you with someone else. And I think you can remove it now. I think the more important thing, breaking news, after my divorce, I read books about relationships. And
like you do.
When I read Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity, besides all the heterosexual relationships in it, would throw me crazy. You know, one of the biggest things she said about why relationships fail, not just marriages, just relationships in general, is you don't keep your own interests. And I think even that graph is just missing such a big component of self-involvement and self-awareness that this takes. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not getting what you need from your relationship and from self, the jealousy makes sense. It's not justified if it's on you. But if you're not getting that, things from your partner and they are outsourcing, and that is something you need, then yes, jealousy makes sense. So it really is about, okay, do you know what your needs are? And are you being clear about those? Right. And if you are being clear about those needs and they still aren't being met, because your partner is finding them somewhere else, then the jealousy is there, right?
Yeah.
So looking at the chart in terms of that.
Right. Well, let's take that to the advanced course, which is if we don't believe in the myth of the one, and we recognize
and we don't
that we can't, and we don't on this channel,
no.
And we recognize that our partner can't possibly fulfill 100% of our needs, then how do you be compersive? I'm not going to use that. How do you move to a place of compersion, knowing that it might be healthy for you to outsource some of those needs? Let me give you
here's the joy. Oh, go for it.
Well, let me give you a real example of that. So my partner is someone who tends to go to bed early, is like supports me in doing burlesque, but is not interested in attending all of my burlesque performances. I have a need that I would like to kind of be with someone, and that's not primary, but be with someone that I can share something of this performance nightlife space. So
right.
If I engage in romantic experiences with another person, specifically around those nightlife burlesque, show
right.
Context, that's me outsourcing a little bit. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's us recognizing where how we
because that's not a need he has that you're outsourcing.
Exactly.
I think here's the joy of this. If you're doing romantic relationships right, you're already practicing the skill of compersion.
Tell me more. I love that.
So not news. My partner and I are going to Ohio this week.
You better.
And we have a movie to see.
Because I dropped my phone. Because we are booked and busy, and I am so ready to hang out with you. So
it's
happening.
Right. So we were talking about our plans, and they were like, "Oh my God, no joke." They were like, seriously, like, "Oh my God, you have to. When are you seeing Eileen?" Right. It brings them, and I'm like, "Yeah." It brings them.
When are you seeing? No,
you're like, "But when are you seeing Eileen?"
Exactly.
But you know what I mean? It brings joy to my person to be like, okay, make sure you plan that. Because if they know what joy you bring me, they know what life you bring me, and they know it is important to me to fill that cup when I can in person. So that's compersion, baby. Like, that's it. You nailed it. You know what I mean? We do it with friendships all the time.
Yes.
We understand. It's even written in Everybody Loves Raymond and all the other bullshit, right? Night with the guy, the night with the girls, whatever the hell. Grease lightning bullshit we have to deal with all the damn time.
Grease lightning. Oh my God.
Right? So it's already there. So I think the joy of this is the muscle is there. You know what I mean? It's just kind of understanding you've been doing the same sort. Do you know what I mean? You've been doing the same sort of bicep curl this whole time. Now just turn it sideways.
Make compersion work for you. Yeah,
like a shake weight.
Yeah. Well, and think how freeing it is. Like, if life is a smorgasbord, then let's eat, right? Here's the things here's the things I need from an open relationship. I need testing reports. I need to know blood work, right? We need to know we're all being safe with STIs.
We need to know blood work, girl.
Yes, we need to have safe sex practices documented. We need to have a policy and procedure document, right? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but what I'm saying is you need to write these things down, okay? And you talk about them. Be like, is this what we agree on?
Is this your card?
Is this your card? And then you have to establish the healthy boundaries. I feel like this is a culmination of a lot of topics. We're getting deep on the dish tonight. This is a deep dish tonight.
This is a Chicago deep dish.
Yeah.
But what I will say also about as you kind of think about that kind of that muscle already being there, right? And what that feels like is that I completely lost my train of thought when you did that. So go ahead, keep going. I love shit. Oh my God, it was such a good closer. It's whiskey.
That was it. That's my connection with the divine. That's how I suss out the vibrations from the other planes of existence.
But I guess to the point of the burlesque thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Which is also this, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you had this isn't an answer for you, but you don't have to answer, but if you had a partner who also wanted to be part of your life all the time in that way, would that work for you? Because I think one of the joys of the partnership is also that you have the freedom to make connections in a space where you can be 100% independent. Like, isn't that kind of also the joy? And when partners get codependent and insecure, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because then it's like, there's nowhere I can be independent. That's the point. Esther Perel, in her book, is all about, like, you just become like, well, you like hiking? I guess I'll try it. And then all of a sudden I'm on all your hiking trips. And then you don't have any independent sense of self.
Right.
Which is why divorce or breakups feel like, oh my God, I didn't even know I liked this because Kathy didn't like it. And I gave it up. And it's like, okay, well, who's on? Is that on Kathy?
Yeah.
That's on you.
I would argue that having separate things, there's things that you share, but you can't have a Venn diagram that's a circle, right? You have to have some amount of separation where you have things that the other person doesn't share. And I would argue that separation, that time, it makes you appreciate the time you spend together, and it makes you appreciate the time that you spend as an independent individual. And that actually enriches the relationship. It's a balance. If you're too separate, then you don't feel connected at all. And you have to have enough overlap to where you feel like you have a healthy amount of connectedness. It's always the middle way.
This is like hitting all of my comedy shit too, right? Like, you cannot, like, I've had partners that are just like, I want to be at everything. And I'm like,
do you have to be, though?
Why?
Like,
don't do that.
You could also go. That would be fine.
But you know what's interesting is the partners that have made that work, that has worked with the most, and you know this for shows, is like the ones that can be like, independent, go. Because even if you come to my show, I'm not hanging out with you. I'm backstage.
Yeah.
Or I'm networking with comics, or I'm doing whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, one of the sexiest things that I think Monty said to me at one point was when we were at a show, and it was the end of the first act, and he was like, hey, I think I'm not going to make it through the whole show, and I'm just feeling really tired, and I'm not having, like, you know, it was really great to get to see you, but I think it would be better for me if I go home and just, like, rest, you know, and do something else. And I was like, that's totally fine. I'm glad that you told me. Because the alternative is that he would have stayed for the whole show, forced himself through it, and then we would have had to deal with the fallout of that.
Well, you know? And then you want to stick around after and talk with people, and he's like, all right, I stayed for the show. We're going.
Exactly.
Because the reward people build up in their heads for doing the thing that they said they would, and then they change their mind and you didn't know.
And that's fun. That's a fun option. But yeah, I mean, that leads to...
7:38.
What? Is it really?
It's 7:38. We've been dishing.
Oh, well, we have things to talk about, Brooke.
Girl, tell me about it. You know what? Really, we're still on track because I yelled at you for 8 minutes. So we're really in the beginning.
That's what it felt like. No, not really.
As we wrap up, what are our closing thoughts, girl?
Oh, closing thoughts are compersion is it's something
muscle.
It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. It is something to work toward, you know? It's something to explore and to talk about and to work toward with your partner. We have a whole workbook coming out. The Covered Dish workbook. Which is what was the name of it? What was the name of our book going to be called?
Oh, A Weird Aside?
Yeah. We'll have the book name figured out by next week. But,
I like A Weird Aside.
Yeah.
Oh, Wintry Mix.
Wintry Mix. Yeah, that's our co-author. So,
love it.
If you love complex discussions that don't just touch on queer relationships, but frankly are relevant to all relationships, then I recommend that you go to facebook.com and you search for Covered Dish and you like their page. And then I recommend that you go to youtube.com and search for Covered Dish and subscribe to the channel where you can watch all of our previous episodes. And we will continue to talk about this stuff every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. So
we can't wait to see you again.
Yeah. Let us know what you want to talk about. Like, comment, and subscribe. Amen.
Amen. Praise him. Bye.